Chapter 7, Political Participation, Activating the Popular Will. Political participation is involvement in the activities designed to influence public policy and leadership. A main issue of democratic government is the question of who participates in politics and how fully they participate. Voting is the most widespread form of active political participation among Americans, yet voter turnout is significantly lower in the U.S. than in other democratic nations. The requirement that Americans must personally register in order to become eligible to vote is one reason for lower voter turnout among Americans. Other democracies place the burden of registration on government officials rather than on the individual citizens. The fact that the United States holds frequent elections also discourages some citizens from voting regularly. Only a minority of citizens engage in more demanding forms of political activity, such as work on community affairs or on behalf of a candidate during a political campaign. Nevertheless, the proportion of Americans who engage in these more demanding forms of activity exceeds the proportion of Europeans who do so. Most political activists are individuals of higher income and education. They have the skills and material resources to participate effectively and tend to take a greater interest in politics. More than in any other Western democracy, political participation in the United States is related to economic status. Political movements are broad efforts to achieve change by citizens who feel that government is not properly responsive to their interests. These efforts typically take place outside established channels. Demonstrations and marches are common means of protest. A number of major protest movements have had varying levels of success, such as Black Lives Matter and the movement against gun violence. Despite America's tradition of free expression, protest activities are less common in the U.S. than in many other democracies. Although public support for protest depends on the issue at stake, most Americans do not embrace it as much as they do voting. Overall, Americans are only moderately involved in politics. Although they are concerned with political affairs, they are mostly immersed in the private pursuits, a reflection in part of a cultural belief in individualism. The lower level of participation among low-income citizens has particular significance in that it works to reduce their influence on public policy and leadership.